And now to Eddie Ruza with two Illinois congressmen and the battles brewing over the national debt. Eddie.
Phil, there are many heated debates being held across the country right now about the national debt and what to do about it. Some of those debates, like this one in Florida Congressman Daniel Webster's district, are reminiscent of the health care town hall meetings of 2 summers ago that erupted into angry confrontations between voters and members of Congress. Republicans and Democrats seem to be mostly at odds over how to address a number of fiscal issues, from the skyrocketing debt to the future of Social Security and Medicare. However, one debate that the White House hopes it put to rest today is that of President Obama's birthplace. The White House released Mr. Obama's so-called long-form birth certificate, showing that he was indeed born in Hawaii 50 years ago this coming August. Well, joining us tonight to talk about these issues are Congressman Peter Roskam, a Republican from Wheaton. Congressman Roskam is also the House GOP Chief Deputy Whip. And Congressman Bobby Rush, a Democrat from Chicago. Gentlemen, welcome back to Chicago tonight. Congressman Roskam, let's just begin with this whole birth certificate issue and put that to rest. Were you among those who needed to see the long-form certificate to be assured that President Obama was indeed born in the United States?
I've had dozens of meetings in my district for the past 2 weeks, and the issue never came up once. My district is interested in what's going on in terms of debt, deficit, job growth, economic creativity, and isn't to be distracted by other things. So
the birth certificate issue that many have harped on for the last couple of years was not paramount to you?
No.
Congressman Rush, your thoughts on this? Some say that the president caved in to individuals that the president himself today called carnival barkers. Was he in the right to release this birth certificate?
Well, I can't judge whether he's right or wrong. I don't think that I would, but I understand why he did it. He did it because of the fact that this is some sort of a political placebo, a political strategy on the parts of the front runner of the Republican, the present front runner for the Republican nomination for president.
You're talking about Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. And if this is what the best that the Republicans can do, if this is what the Republicans stand for, if this is the central message that the Republicans are promoting at a time of deep-seated crises in this nation, then I say come on with it, because the fact is that I think that the American people really want to have not a placebo, not a political placebo, but political solutions and governmental solutions to the many problems that they are facing.
Well, let's talk about some of those potential solutions. Congressman Roskam, let's begin with Paul Ryan, Wisconsin Congressman Paul Ryan's budget that he proposed that was passed in the House, the so-called Republican alternative budget. Why is that a better fiscal plan than the so-called official one, or the Democratic plan that is out there?
The Republican plan balances. The weakness of the White House plan is it never comes to balance, ever. There's no point under the White House plan at which revenues and expenses are in sync. The Republican plan, by contrast, says, look, what we need to do is balance this budget, get us on a pathway to prosperity, that's what we've named this plan, and ultimately to create jobs and a buoyancy within the economy.
And it balances the budget how?
Well, it balances the budget first by transforming the tax code to lower tax rates and broaden the base so that we can have a competitive tax system globally, headquartered here in the U.S. Secondly, it takes on entitlements in a way that saves them. Right now, or last month rather, the Congressional Budget Office announced that Medicare, the Medicare will be insolvent. The trust fund will be insolvent in 9 years. We know this crisis is coming. We're facing a debt crisis. So this says simply to those seniors who are ages 55 and above, they stay in the Medicare system.
All right, we're going to get into the details of the tax code and Medicare in a second, but Congressman Rush, your response.
Real clear. This Ryan plan is a pathway to ruin for the middle-class Americans, ruin for those who are struggling to be middle class.
Specifically how?
Because if you look at the so-called tax initiatives, the balancing the budget, well, the balancing the budget was not a primary concern when the Republicans voted to make permanent the tax cuts for the wealthy. You know, every time there's an opportunity to make the rich folk in America to make them even richer, make them more well off, then the Republicans seem to gleefully support those initiatives.
Well, Congressman Roskam, let's talk about that aspect. Well, hang on one second, Congressman Rush, because it was one of the issues that Congressman Ryan himself was booed at a town hall meeting that he held last week in Wisconsin. He said the wealthy are being taxed. The people in the room didn't seem to believe him. By one estimate, rolling back the so-called Bush tax cuts would solve about 75% of the deficit problem within the next 5 years and about 40% of the deficit problem in the next 20 years. Why not roll back those tax cuts so that the wealthiest of the Americans are paying more?
Well, look, let me address your point. So what we're suggesting is completely eclipse that whole debate. That debate is passé. I mean, President Obama signed those extensions of the tax code and then ultimately made the argument earlier in the year that they were helpful in job creation. But set that aside for a minute. What we're saying is lower the rate generally to no larger than 25% for individuals and corporations. And what you will do is you will create a renaissance within this country, broaden the base and take away the exemptions, and ultimately...
How will it create a renaissance, though?
I think it creates a renaissance by recognizing that we have the highest corporate tax rate in the world. We're number one.
What you will wind up doing, let's be, it sounds pretty, it sounds good, it sounds like it's really a well-wrapped and brightly colored Christmas gift to the American people. But once you take off the superficial wrapping, then you're doing nothing but inflicting more and more pain on those who are most vulnerable in society, on those who are struggling, the elderly, on those who are on fixed income, those who can least afford it. Some of the same individuals, all right, who have been the beneficiary of these enormous tax cuts, who are wealthy, some of these individuals are saying, no, we don't want it. Don't give it to us. We don't want it. Keep it. We'll put it to better use. But the Republicans are hell-bent on making the rich and the wealthy.
All right, Congressman Rush, today Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke held an unprecedented press conference where he says that the federal deficit is not sustainable, that the warning from Standard & Poor's